I'm going to show you on the front of your RC car tire. And it's really easy. If you didn't make the original tire yet, then you can go to another tutorial that I've recorded on my channel and learn how to do that. But what we're looking at here are a handful of small squares. So we're going to start off with a box. So if you go ahead and draw a box, you can change the length so it's more uniform. 0.8 looks like a good size, so I'll just do 0.8 all around. And then if we go to our front view, we can line that up with the top of the tire here. So I'll drag this up a little bit, and this looks good. So what I want to do is I want to add a little bit of dimension to this tread, so it's not just a square here. If you look at the reference image, you can see that it does taper a little bit at the top. It's kind of hard to see in this image, but trust me on this one. So I'm going to right click and convert this to an editable poly. And since we don't need the bottom polygon, I'll go ahead and delete that. I'll return to my shaded mode by pressing F3 on my keyboard. And then I can select and scale this in just to give it a little bit of dimension. Now, if I were to go to Turbo Smooth, we would see that we don't get a very nice shape here. It just looks like a blob. So to avoid that, I'm going to go to my edge mode and I'll add some Swift Loop geometry. Under my Edit tab, Swift Loop. Let's go ahead and add one here, one down here, and we'll just box it out. Something like this. That looks good. So once you're satisfied with your object here, we can go back to Turbo Smooth. Oops. Make sure you're Turbo Smoothing the right objects. And that looks much better. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 copies across. So I'm going to drag this down just a tad. And if I hold down my shift key and drag along my x-axis and press 6, I can make 3 instances here. So that looks pretty good. I'll move this entire group over. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take these two end pieces. Well, that actually looks good. I'm satisfied there. So from here, we're going to actually group all of these together temporarily. And we want to go to our front view, and we're actually going to take this group and we're going to rotate them over. So in order to do this, if you try to go to your rotate tool now to make a copy, you're going to see it's just going to rotate the object itself. So instead, you want to go over to Effect Pivot Only, and we want to change the pivot so it's actually aligned with the center of the wheel. So we're going to go over here to Align, and click on the center of your screw, and you can just say Align Center to Center, and we'll say OK. We'll turn off Effect Pivot Only, and we'll start to make our copies. So if you go to your Select and Rotate tool, hold down your Shift key with your group selected. I'm going to rotate this over 5 degrees. And we can go ahead and say regular copy. It doesn't need to be an instance. So now if you look at your tire tread pattern here, we have a tread in every other space. So we're going to replicate that look here. So if we ungroup both of these selections, I'm going to go ahead and freeze this tire. It's giving me some issues. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to delete every other one. And then I'll go back to this group and I'll delete every other one as well. Perfect. So now these are the tire treads that we're going to rotate around the entire wheel. So I'm going to go ahead and say group these again. And we're going to rotate them around the entire wheel. So the way that we want to do this is go back to effect pivot only and center it to the object. So center to center. And then we know that it's going to rotate around the entire object itself here. So that means it's 360 degrees. So we are going to rotate this group. Maybe copy. Let's see. 17 times. I didn't get it quite the way I wanted to. Let's try it again. Alright, so that should give me enough to go off of. Let me just double check this. Perfect. So we ended up rotating that 36 times around the entire wheel, and then you have your treads. So what we can do now is go ahead and add a standard material to it. Let's start by actually grouping these all together into one. Assign to selection. We can change the color here so that we have a nice black outline. And we're good to go. So if you want, we're not going to worry about actually attaching them all to the wheel right now, but you can do a temporary group of your screw, your wheel, and your tire, and your treads if you'd like.